All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, I want to do a couple sponsor shoutouts real quick off the top. Sovereign Extracts, a variety of CBD product, including oils, cartridges, THC cartridges, and the like, but also USG Canada, putting out some great apparel for boxers, MMA fighters, and fans alike. And on today's show, welcoming in an individual who's got a big fight coming up here that is going on June the 27th. It is a heavyweight fight between Philipe Lins and Tanner Boser. And I've got Tanner on the show. How's your day going so far there, man?
So far, so good. Just waiting at the hotel here. Can't leave until the COVID tests results are in tomorrow morning.
Okay, so you already went through like the testing procedures and stuff like that. What was all that like there?
It's just like a long Q-tip that they have to kind of touch the back of your throat with. It's mildly uncomfortable for a second, but it's really not that bad.
Have you noticed any differences in the methodology for this one outside of that? Because, I mean, I saw Teddy Ash actually post something on Instagram on the fact that there was like a very empty airport for him. Like, what was the actual travel like going to the event and everything? I imagine that was a fair bit different.
Yeah, actually, the airports were dead. There was the planes had few people on them, and the flight schedule was very very dry. Like I think flights from Vancouver to Seattle, which we had to take the milk run to get to Vegas. Edmonton, Vancouver, Seattle, Vegas. But from Vancouver to Seattle, there was only 3 planes. Not even to Seattle. I think from Vancouver to the States, there was only 3 planes going all day, basically. So yeah, definitely very very quiet airports during travel.
Yeah, I was just curious about the landscape for that. It looked pretty barren from what I was seeing there. But I also wanted to, shout out the fact that your cousin got signed there with the Sharks. I think that's pretty cool. I thought it was also funny that you said, I guess I'm not default cheering for the Oilers all the time now. So that's pretty cool, man. Good to see it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, my cousin Brinson Pashnuk got signed to the Sharks, and then his brother was also obviously my cousin, Steen Pashnuk, got signed to Barracudas, which is the San Jose Sharks. Like, it's pro, it's their feeder league, so, or their not their feeder, that's fight terms, their farm team. So you might see him on the Sharks, I guess, as well. But yeah, both of them getting pro contracts there is pretty awesome. Pretty good news.
Yeah, it's really tight, man, and good to see it. But I was seeing a little bit on social media there. It looks like you've been training with Teddy Ash a bit. Like, are you still able to train with some of the usual shaved bears and stuff like that? And like, what does the methodology look like with the whole pandemic going on? Is it largely back to business, or are there a couple of hurdles in that regard?
Well, the gyms opened up, I think last Friday was the date, so we were allowed to once again train with cohorts. Like, they've made it so ambiguous that you have to make up definitions of things and then hope that you're right. It's stupid as hell, but yeah, I've got training in with my main training cohorts since last Friday, so it's been good.
Yeah, I thought that was cool, and I saw Little Sweatshop is back at it as well. So good to see that all operations are functioning.
Yeah, you bet. Definitely some classes to check out for anybody in the Edmonton area. Little Sweatshop, I believe. We have classes every weekday and on Saturday too. Saturday is I think 9 in the morning. The schedule is on my Instagram page if you want to look. But there's an updated schedule now. There's no gi jujitsu in there as well. I don't know. I believe you have to have a membership, which makes you a cohort, which makes it okay. No drop-ins right now until later phases. But then we also have the kickboxing and MMA conditioning every day at, I think, 6 till 7. Some days are 7 till 8. I don't remember off the top of my head which are which. But yeah, every weekday.
Yeah, great means to get people out there and get them active with everything that's been going on and just readjust people into society and whatnot. But the last bout you had there lined up with Jeff Hughes obviously ended up falling through with the event cancellation and the whole bit. When did Philipe Lins kind of get introduced to you as an opponent here?
A few days before I announced it, so I don't know when, maybe a month ago or something like that, right? Or was it longer? Might have been longer. I don't know. The Jeff Hughes fight got canceled. I was asking for another fight, and they told me that I could fight. They had a fight for me, and it was Philipe Lins. I don't know why Jeff Hughes didn't still want the fight or couldn't, or I don't know the situation in Ohio. Maybe he got out of shape, or maybe something came up with his family, or he had to go to work. Like, I have no idea. But yeah, anyways, now my opponent is Philipe Lins.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts on his overall skill set? Like, what do you think he really, brings to the table in a big way?
Well, he has that black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's good at it. He's got some good submission wins, but he's a striker. He considers himself a striker. He's all around. He's good everywhere, and I have to be prepared to fight him everywhere. But he does favor the striking. He's got a good jab, and he's got good combos, hard punches, fast punches. He's a good fighter, and it should be a good technical, high-paced heavyweight fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the hashtags in the fight announcement post, you were talking about how there was no fight boat there. So it seems like the dreams died a little bit there. But I mean, with Fight Island coming up, like, do you have? I mean, I guess it's all predicated on what happens in this fight here. But what's the general level of interest in getting to Fight Island?
Hey, if after this fight I'm good to go still, I wouldn't oppose taking a short notice fight on Fight Island, man. I'd do it, but right now, obviously, I got to see what happens in this fight, see how banged up I am afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of factors, no doubt. But it seems like you've been keeping up with all the recent fight cards that have been happening and everything like that. And it seems like you've kind of gone up in the mullet hierarchy there with Ricky Simone being out of the picture. Where do you think you're at in the overall mullet rankings, pound for pound nowadays?
Oh man, well, with Ricky Simone's mullet out of the picture, which his mullet was very long, very very hard to compete with Ricky's mullet. But with it gone, man, I don't know. I think me and Ben Sassoli are up there. Who else has got a mullet kicking around right now? Somebody came in with a mullet.
I mean, Roy Nelson's got the OG mullet. Like, I guess there's like some historical mullets too.
The OG mullet. It's not in UFC anymore, but yeah, I mean that's a legendary mullet. Although he disqualifies himself sometimes by braiding it in the fight, he doesn't let it flow. So I mean, it's subject to the eye of the beholder. What you think the MMA GOAT mullet is currently.
For sure, definitely a discussion worth having. A lot of debate to be had there, but I mean, it seems like you've been ripping some Pokemon Go a fair bit in quarantine. Like, how's that been going? Like, what are some of the bigger captures there? Like, what are some of the primo Pokemon you have?
Yeah, I played a lot of Pokemon Go during the quarantine. Recently, I guess I caught a Reshiram, which is a legendary one. You need a group of like probably at least 5 people to beat the legendary raids in order to attempt to catch them, and then they're hard to catch. So caught him, and I caught a Latias with my girlfriend and her daughter and another group of people there a couple weeks back. So yeah, there's been a couple good catches, but nothing super recently. We'll see once I'm no longer quarantined in my hotel if I don't find a good Pokemon Go raid here close by in Vegas.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned kind of being out and about with your girlfriend and some other people and everything like that. And I remember in a prior time we were talking, there was a bit of a situation with like wanting to, see your brother out in Bonnyville there, but not necessarily sure about the landscape at the time. Have you been able to kind of reconnect since, with the landscape being a tad different, or not so much?
Yeah, so we have, but like when I was with my girlfriend and her daughter, I mean, I saw them like every single day through the quarantine. We were with each other before the quarantine too. That I wasn't breaking any rules there. As for my brother, yeah, once things kind of died down and a little bit of the hysteria went away, I went to Bonnyville and had a visit. So been down there a couple times, still being careful, obviously, but I don't come into contact with too many people. So.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just like getting back to some level of normalcy, being smart with it, but still exercising due caution. I figured it'd be something in that regard.
Yeah, you gotta, you have to be careful, but you also have to exercise a bit of reason, I think.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And I've been meaning to ask this for a little bit, because I remember I talked to you ahead of your targeted UFC 240 debut, and I'd seen a lot of other articles too characterizing that UFC opportunity as a dream come true. And I remember you kind of indicating on social media, like, I don't know that that was necessarily like a dream of mine that I've mapped out. So I'm kind of curious to that point, like, what is your dream? Like, do you still have a dream you're seeking out there if the UFC opportunity wasn't that?
No, I never had a specific dream. I like my lifestyle and I like fighting, and this is a good scenario for me right now. What I got going on, I would like to obviously stay in the UFC for a reasonable period of time. But I mean, I'm only 2 fights in. Anything can happen. I could wait. I could go on a big win streak. I could go on a losing streak. I'm a realistic guy. I want to stay in UFC, and I want my pay to increase so that I could make an actual, little bit of money out of it. But that's not a dream. That's what I hope happens. And if not, well, I'll figure it out. I don't have a dream. I just like to live my life the way I do and be content.
Well, I mean, contentment is a great thing to have, and certainly something that escapes a few people, no doubt. But it seems like that negotiation period would be coming up sooner rather than later, with like the 2 fights left on the contract, including this upcoming fight here with Philipe Lins.
Well, if I win, maybe they want to extend my contract and lock me in before my final fight. If I lose, I'm positive they're just going to let me fight my final fight before they decide if they want to re-sign me. So, again, lots hinging on this fight, as it always does. The future of your contract, of your fight career, of your immediate financial situation. The win bonus doubles your money. There's tons riding on it at all times. It's very high stakes, and it's just the way she is.
Yeah, there's a ton of variables for sure, man, but you seem to handle everything well. And I mean, you've been also good with your time here too, and I want to be mindful of that. So I'm curious if there's anything you'd like to sort of add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here.
No, I mean, if anybody listening to this wants to follow me on social media, I'm at Bulldozer Boser on Instagram and Twitter, Tanner Bulldozer Boser on Facebook. Shout out to my sponsors, PPS, Paul Pedal Services, and Premier Built Garages, and Mealcraft. And yeah, man, that's all I got to say. Again, if you want to start getting back active now that you're allowed to leave your house, hit up Little Sweatshop and check out some of the beginner classes. They're a good time.
Yeah, it seems like a great supportive culture over there, and I'm thinking this is going to be a great fight coming up here, and people can check that out on June 27th. We've got a UFC Fight Night going on and a heavyweight tilt between Philipe Lins and Tanner Boser as part of that card. Thanks again for all the time and insights there, Tanner. Always appreciate having you on, and have a great rest of your night there, man.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks for the talk there, Dylan. Have a good night.